What is going on, everybody? It is episode 541 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I have a case of the Mondays, but what helps is that we're at 99K subscribers right now, which is really exciting. And I'm crossing my fingers that we can reach 100K by the end of the week. If that's like in the cards, what do you think, Brett?
I had it worked out to like Sunday. That was like, remember,
You're doing the math. You're doing the calculations.
My initial prediction was Sunday of this week, and we could be like dead on for that. But it would be cool to get there quicker. It would absolutely be cool to get there quicker. But my initial guess was the end of this week, which means that Carter needs to hurry the hell up and get us our new Crisis Party sound effect.
Yeah, the clock is running down to the minute.
Guys, you should go and subscribe. If you are not yet subscribed,
if you're not subscribed,
channel,
I hate you. No, maybe that doesn't work.
That might not work. You might need to say like, she would like you more.
If you subscribe, I would like you marginally more than I do now.
There you go. That's perfect. Guys, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. As Mary said, we have passed 99,000 subscribers. We are so close to 100,000, which is fantastic. Share these videos with your friends. The more people that know about the show, the more people that can theoretically show up here, join the chat, hang out, and then subscribe to the channel. We got a $20 one here from Shane H. Wilder. You got that one?
He said, "Happy Monday, Brett and Mary. I saw Argylle this weekend. It did what it was supposed to do, which is be entertaining. Sam Rockwell's performance was reminiscent of his role in Mr. Right, where he played a quirky assassin."
Yeah,
that's what he was.
It's funny, yeah, because like halfway, because when we go to see these movies, I have my phone brightness down on 0, and I try to take notes, and I realize how bad at typing I am sometimes. But I said, Sam Rockwell, why? Like, why him? But as the movie went on, it became more and more apparent. Yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun. So, guys, as you just saw, all Super Chats, $20 and over. We will interrupt the discussion, even if we're just shilling for our own show. We will interrupt that discussion, and we will read those Super Chats right then and there, and then we will get back on topic as best we can as soon as we're done. So please go ahead and subscribe. What do we got to talk about today? So last night was the Grammys. If you didn't watch, I don't blame you. I basically just followed along with live updates on Twitter.
Who actually goes to their TV, has cable, and then tunes in to the Grammys? I don't even know who premieres it.
Yeah, but it was a big night for the ladies. Women swept all of the televised Grammy events. So I don't want to hear about the patriarchy anymore.
The revolution will not be televised.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about that. Taylor Swift, picture perfect, zero mistakes. Taylor Swift is finally... She's had a blunder in her career. She has finally tripped up. She was accepting her award for Artist of the... Or no, it was for
Album of the Year for Midnight.
She was accepting her award for Album of the Year, and she did the thing where she pretends to be surprised as if she's surprised. And
you all voted for me?
She's the prom queen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as she was accepting that award, what she didn't do was acknowledge the legendary Celine Dion, who made a surprise guest appearance to give the award away. Of course, as we've talked about on the show before, Celine Dion has been diagnosed with what is called stiff person syndrome.
This is her first appearance since her diagnosis.
So
basically, she snatched the award, but she didn't make eye contact, and people are mad about it.
The reason I want to talk about it is I watched the media machine go into immediate overdrive. It was actually fascinating to watch. She is extremely protected as a celebrity. So we're going to talk about that. Also, Killer Mike won 3 awards and then got arrested. And maybe it was the deep state because he wouldn't endorse Biden just a couple of days ago on Bill Maher. So we're going to talk about all the Grammy stuff there. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about Shane Gillis, who is a comedian, and I had to plumb the depths of my brain to remember where this story came from, but it was from 2019. He had been hired on to work on Saturday Night Live and then was unceremoniously let go when jokes of a xenophobic, racist, and sexist, whatever, demeanor, all sorts of bad jokes that they don't like about him came to light. I don't know how they don't do their due diligence beforehand. They resurfaced, and it got him unceremoniously fired. Well, he gets the last laugh because he is going to be the host of Saturday Night Live this coming week. Unfortunately, it just means he's going to be the host of Saturday Night Live, which means he'll have about as many viewers as As us, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this fantastic dual article from Film Threat in which the entirety of the DEI mechanism that Hollywood runs on has been exposed. A lot of open letters were written to Film Threat. If you don't know who Chris Gore is, I recommend you go check out Film Threat and Chris Gore on YouTube. And people wrote their stories about what DEI has done to Hollywood as an industry. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about a new app. Well, finally, we've been complaining about AI for months. Just all the evils that AI is causing the world. Well, finally, there is a new program called Dignify AI, which is putting clothes back on 304s that are posting their degenerate images. I'm fine with 304s posting their degenerate images, but I get it.
But we, as Christians, are commanded to clothe the naked.
Yes, well, I'm over here saying you don't need to be clothed, and Mary's over here saying you should be clothed. So this app is for her.
I am totally pro Dignify AI, however you're supposed to pronounce it.
Dignify AI, yes.
They're doing good work over there.
So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of stuff to get into. It's going to be a lot of fun today, guys. So go ahead, again, subscribe. We are getting so close to 100,000. So Mary, if you are ready, we will get started. Are you?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go for it then. All right, let's go ahead and get started then. So first things first, as you know, we went and saw Argylle last week. We liked it, but we were pretty much the only people that did, it seemed like.
Maybe we're the only people that gave it a chance.
Savvy, who has a channel called Let's Talk About It. She's great. She liked it as well. Dumb fun is what she called it, and she's right. It is absolutely dumb fun. If you went to this movie expecting some type of blockbuster like a Christopher Nolan or some type of mind-bending cerebral film, this is not for you. But here's the problem. It earned $35 million worldwide on a budget of $200 million.
When it was supposed to make, what, $50 million at the minimum?
No, $20 million. I mean, $20 million was the domestic box office. I don't know what the worldwide estimates were.
If we're hoping for it to, I don't know, recoup that cost,
sequels are going to happen. Yeah, Henry Cavill says Argylle sequels depend on whether the audience likes what we've done. Well, here's the thing: the audience gave it a 70.
The critics gave it a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 13% from top critics, which was a travesty. And they don't know what they're talking about, obviously. But the problem is not whether the audience likes what they've done. The problem is that not enough people are going to see it, and unfortunately, it's because it's original content.
Yeah,
it's just the sheeple will only pay to see another installment of the MCU or Star Wars or something that has IP attached to it, and that's just the way the industry works now, I guess.
I wonder if maybe a different time of year would have been good for this movie.
Like when?
Spring?
The summer?
Spring or summer?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Aren't people supposed to want to go to the movie theaters when it's cold out too?
I guess. So our theater was empty when we went. It was that was one time where that theater was I actually got parking close to the theater.
Yeah, that's rare.
I never get parking close to the theater where we went. I think it could be the flat top. I think Henry Cavill's flat top scared people away.
I think that it was a vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I with his widow's peak, it doesn't work.
Well, the widow's peak makes it what it is because that makes his hair into an Argylle diamond pattern. It's perfect. Perfect casting, obviously.
I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. The CGI was awful.
It's fine.
Well, here's the thing, though. That will actually look less bad if I'm watching it at home, on my television.
Yeah.
When you're watching it in a big theater, it's far more noticeable. But we had fun with it. So
I don't even care. I just wish that movies like this got more good faith from the audience instead of banking on.
It does feel like this and Bullet Train are the movies like this and Bullet Train. Obviously, these aren't the same things.
Bullet Train did well.
Not an IP based film.
Am I right? Bullet Train made its money back.
It made its money back.
Made it profit.
I think somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it did.
I assumed.
Yeah. But
maybe that was because Brad Pitt was starring in it.
I do recommend people. But they were banking on Henry Cavill selling this thing.
Yeah, but he was hardly.
Yes. But a lot of people that was the problem. But
a lot of people didn't know.
A lot of people were bait and switched by this and thought this movie was going to be mostly Henry Cavill. And there are posters where he's it's the ensemble cast with Henry Cavill at the front, which is a bait and switch.
A little bit, but it still gets butts in seats, which means you made your money off of him already.
Yeah. Yep.
And it just still didn't work.
And theoretically, if the movie did well, but people were upset that he wasn't in it enough, you could make another one where he's in it more.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was a post-credit scene, and I knew it would happen. I wanted to sit there and wait for it. And the post-credit scene teased a sequel that doesn't even exist yet. It's based on a fictional book series that doesn't exist. So they're thinking of making a movie about the first book of that book series that doesn't exist. With a younger version of Argylle, who isn't even played by Henry Cavill, obviously.
Yeah. People are saying, Unknown is saying Henry Cavill has never been a draw. I don't know about that. That's maybe the idea is that he's a good secondary actor, but he's not necessarily the lead. Like he was great in Mission Impossible, the one that he was in, but he's not the lead of that. That's Tom Cruise. I don't remember if The Man from U.N.C.L.E. made money, but that was back in 2015. I guess
he's not quite a leading man. In Hollywood. And then when he was in DC, I mean, he had Man of Steel, but after that, he was in Batman vs. Superman. But really, the reason people went to that is to see Ben Affleck as Batman, or at least I would assume that that's why they went to see that one. So yeah, I guess we're not going to get a sequel on this one, guys. It's sad to see. But one movie that is doing well is the romantic comedy, Anyone But You. Why?
$150 million now at the worldwide box office on a budget of $25 million.
And they were doing reshoots literally a month before release, which is insane. You
know what it is? It's like what's the opposite of hoflation? It's like people are so starved for romantic comedies that I guess anything will do.
Anything goes.
Anything.
But the recent one with Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson, I forget the name of it, that didn't do well at all.
No. But the one with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock did, because it was like an action romantic comedy.
Okay. You have to appeal to both.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Men and women
these days.
But this one, just the trailer and the images, all of it seemed very unappealing. But I guess the industry is starved for rom-coms enough that people are willing to see it.
Well, they need something to sell to the ladies.
You said that Glenn Powell was recently seen with giggly models.
That was how they described it. Giggly models.
So the drama around Anyone But You is that Sydney Sweeney was getting a little bit too flirtatious and a little bit too touchy-feely with her co-star Glenn Powell, and that she somehow led to his breakup with his fiance at the time. But she's still engaged to her fiance.
Of course.
So now he's single and hanging out with giggly models.
Well, good for him. He's like, look, I was in Top Gun Maverick. She's Top Gun Maverick. They're like, I saw Top Gun Maverick.
It made me cry.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, want to get out of here?
Yeah.
Want to go back to my penthouse?
Yeah.
So go ahead. I don't know if you guys are going to go check this one out. I'm guessing, given our audience demographic,
probably not.
Isn't people going to check it out, but it's doing well. Also, I saw that Migration is now it's about to hit profitability as well. They get past 152 million. Or something like that, or 100 and something million on a $72 million budget. I sent it to someone. It's the little mid-budget movie that could. It would cost $72 million to make.
Little duck that could.
Yeah. Or maybe it was over 200 million. I reposted it this weekend, but that one was doing well as well, with almost no fanfare. Kind of the same way that Super Mario Brothers made $1 billion, the same way that Barbie did, and nobody even remembers that Super Mario Brothers came out last year.
Still, Mario has the IP with it. Correct. But Migration, awful name. Still think it was just a terrible choice, especially with what happened at the Texas border.
Bird travel.
At the same time as it's released. Call it Quack.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right?
I like
One
it.
syllable, simple, Quack.
They can make a sequel called The Quackening.
Yeah.
All right. If you guys remember, Blue Beetle came out last year. If you don't remember, no one would blame you. But Zolo Maraduena says that he will return as Blue Beetle in the DCU, which makes no sense, because they were supposedly starting from scratch on most of this stuff.
Well, and it also didn't make any money.
Yes.
Blue Beetle lost money by a lot. And it wasn't a good movie either.
So I don't really. I mean, he's a good actor though. I mean, I like Cobra Kai, so that's fine. But right now, it's not about him being good at his job. It's about starting from scratch and getting new faces in there.
Yeah. How is this going to work?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe what the idea would be that they'll wait a couple movies down the line so it won't be as confusing. Like if they introduce him right away in one of these early DC. Also, they don't mention, it could be that maybe he ends up in one of the animated movies like Creature Commandos. That wouldn't necessarily be that one, but he could end up in an animated movie, and then they wouldn't put that in the headline because it wouldn't have the same ring to it. If they're like, he'll show up in a DC animated movie, it won't get the clicks.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But Blue Beetle didn't make enough money to really justify a sequel, so perhaps he's going to come back in one of the other films. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's not just that. I know a lot of people in here didn't like my take initially when I said that I don't think that a Deadpool 3 needs to happen. I just didn't, and I shouldn't say that. I don't think that they needed to bring back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He had a fantastic exit in Logan. There was no reason to bring the character back, in my opinion. But they've got an official logo for Deadpool 3, which I will admit is at least cool looking. And there was also a picture going around this weekend of Kevin Feige at like an event, and he was wearing, because he always wears the hat. He was wearing a hat with this logo on it. But not just that, we have this picture. It says they're teasing that the trailer will be out in about a week. My guess is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's an awesome photo.
I never watched Gina Carano in Deadpool, but would she be a character that would be?
They're not bringing.
I mean, she's not going to be brought back, but would there be a precedent for it?
I don't see a reason to do it.
No. Okay.
No, they wouldn't. She was a bad. She wasn't even a good guy. She was a bad guy.
Got it.
In it. So, So that photo rules, and for that, I had to show this on screen. Mm-hmm. Dudes will look at a picture like this and just be like, "Hell yeah."
Yeah, but what was it? It was the Mad Max Furiosa trailer. Kind of had this vibe, and it looked awful.
Somebody, in the chat, somebody says, "You are wrong, Brett. I love Wolverine, and with Deadpool, let's effing go." Yes, but I just don't see a reason to bring it back. The character back. People are saying because Logan was set in 2027, so technically it hasn't happened yet. I get that, but that's the reason why people have such a problem with the multiverse now, is because nothing has any stakes. You set it in the future, someone dies, it doesn't matter. They're already talking about how they could possibly bring back other Marvel characters from the MCU. People are going to lose interest. Well, you had real stakes before Endgame came out. Now there are no real stakes.
The reason they need no reason other than this could make money.
Yeah.
To bring back a character who died.
But the problem is it can make money, but it's the law of diminishing returns.
Right.
Meaning that the more times you do it, the less successful it is. And as the outcome tends to be that, oh, this character dies, but we bring him back, then nobody cares anymore because it doesn't feel like there's any actual finality to anything.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, yes, that image. But in more Marvel news, this one made me laugh, okay? So Shira Haas, she was the actress who's playing Sabra. We talked about this last Monday or something like this.
Yeah.
She is basically,
there was a petition to remove Sabra
because
from
the character
America.
is essentially how they described it as the Israeli Captain America. She's never described that way in the comics, but that's how others have described her, and she was a former Mossad agent. But I love the bias of this. They says Shira Haas's Sabra will reportedly not be removed from Captain America: Brave New World, despite the film going through reshoots and rewrites. They're so presumptuous that they assume that just because they complained and just because there are reshoots and rewrites that they would acquiesce and do what they're told.
I mean, that is what Hollywood does, right? They acquiesce and they do what they're told. So when the mob complains.
They are not going to remove the character. She will remain in the movie. And I don't really have any interest in seeing this either. I loved Sam as Falcon. I don't really have any interest in seeing him as Captain America. I didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I would have rather had a Bucky movie personally with Falcon in it.
This actress doesn't look like the character.
No,
Sabra.
I mean, that could just be the photo. She could be, the makeup could be.
She just doesn't really strike me that way.
Yeah. So yeah, it's there's a lot going on. It's really weird on days like on Mondays because you get a lot of these bigger announcements. We've got some more to talk about tomorrow as well. But Marvel is going through their own sort of reckoning right now with all of these projects. I don't think that Deadpool saves the MCU. It will probably do well, just like Guardians 3 did well. But I don't think it saves the lackluster feel around the MCU right now. I don't think it gets people re-energized for all these characters that nobody cares about.
Was anyone watching Echo?
No.
Did badly?
Dude, okay, here's the thing.
They're not going to tell us the real numbers, but...
The budget on Echo was only $40 million. The budget on Secret War was like 215.
Damn.
Like they're like, here, they literally dropped a piggy bank.
It was 225 million for She-Hulk, right?
Yes. So both of those, Secret Invasion had like 225 and She-Hulk had like the same. And I'm guessing most of it in Secret Invasion went to Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
But damn, $40 million to make that show.
I mean, would you say that that's a good amount, like to take it down a notch for the budgets?
Yes, but I mean, it's not going to help with something like this. The show should have been greenlit to begin with.
Yeah.
It was not a character that anyone was clamoring to see a series about.
Neither was She-Hulk. I mean, to be
point.
fair, that's not really, they don't really care.
Yep.
If people want to see something, they'll make it anyway.
All right. Okay. Well,
we have an official statement from the Embassy of Japan.
Thank God.
Yes. They said, despite the 12-hour flight and 17-hour time difference, the Embassy of Japan can confidently speak now to say that if Taylor Swift departs Tokyo in the evening after her concert, which is scheduled there, she should comfortably arrive in Las Vegas before the Super Bowl begins. And I assume that's where she will be. A lot of people were disappointed that Travis Kelce wasn't accompanying her at the Grammys last night.
Hey, well, he's got work to do right now.
He's got, a busy schedule, as they both do, I'm sure. But this is just so corny. Like,
we are not a serious
We are not
world.
a serious world.
We're not even a serious country. We're not a serious world anymore.
Yeah. Why are governments simping for Taylor Swift? Why is this your priority?
Money? Well, she's going to be making them a bunch of money while she's over there.
I guess so. Yeah. But this is just disgraceful.
I was going to put this as cringe of the day.
It's almost there.
It is.
But not quite as bad as what we're going to show you.
Yes.
Also, Travis Kelce got accused of cultural appropriation because his haircut is getting called the Travis Kelce. It's basically a fade.
Yes.
There's nothing really distinct about it. This has been in style for years now. This person said, this is how cultural appropriation works. Same thing happened when white women got braids and cornrows, and these folks called it new and bold when black women did it for centuries. Travis Kelce's haircut is a simple fade that black men have worn forever. And then he started arguing with people in the comments at length about the history of the fade.
That was my favorite part.
Arguing that black men were the ones who invented it, and therefore you cannot give credit to Travis Kelce for having one.
Somebody says, this is so whiny, it's incredible. But I like this one. So it says, Rick James, I wonder if it's the real Rick James, says, it isn't cultural at all. The military has been using it since World War II. Its popularity has gone in and out and became a thing in the black community. Who cares?
Ultimately, who does care?
And then he responds, I think you should consider your approach here. Military cuts in the beginning were not fades. They were buzz cuts and high-and-tights, which are not the same thing. The fade was popularized by black soldiers in the 40s and the 50s as the barber culture in the military. Let's continue. As the barber culture in the military grew to the standard cut included fades. Buzz cuts and high-and-tights were not fades. What you see below are not fades. Also, who cares is such an insensitive and obtuse statement given the history of black cultural products and how they have been treated by majority culture. The statement is a myopic one with all due respect.
Why do we care? I'm still going to ask, even though it's an insensitive question, why do we care? Who cares? Also, Brett, do you get fades?
No. Okay, so mine is essentially, it's a 0.5 or a 1 on the side all the way to the part.
Okay.
And then it's basically a high fade. It's almost entirely to the top. Very little fade.
Remember when Macklemore and all of those dudes like popularized in the early 2010s just being bald on the sides?
Yep. Yeah, it looks weird when it's completely
And then
fade.
it was associated with Richard Spencer, so you were racist if you had that haircut.
Yeah. To me, it's also funny for me because I have my hair has really bad colics all over, so they have to be ninjas when they're cutting my hair because it sticks out on the side on this side but lies flat on that side. It's not good. But this is a very, very weird thing to say. And it's a very, very, like somebody says, that's very, very fragile. But seeing people argue with them in the comments also, people say this stuff to our stuff all the time. To be fair, people say, who cares?
Okay.
So, he's allowed to care, but it does feel like engagement farming to me.
Travis Kelce has not that I think cultural appropriation is a valid thing to even complain about, but he has done it. In the past, he was wearing the chains and only dating black women, and that was his whole aesthetic, is that that was his aesthetic, basically. So he did culturally appropriate, but now why is the fade getting so much hate? I don't get it.
It makes no sense to me. Also, his is a pretty medium fade to the middle. It's one of those things where it looks good at a distance, but up close it doesn't look as good.
Barbers in America and abroad are being inundated with requests for the Travis Kelce. Every guy that's asking for the Travis Kelce haircut is hoping he'll find his Taylor Swift.
He's looking for his blonde supermodel pop star.
They might be disappointed with the results, but
Just a little bit.
good on them for trying.
All right. What would you like to see then? Cringe or cute of the day?
Let's start with cute.
Cute? All right, we'll do cute of the day first then. All right, guys. And remember, if you have submissions for cute of the day, you can go ahead and tag at popculture_show on Twitter, and then tag me in it as well at Brett Dasovic and hashtag PCC Pets, hashtag cute of the day. It's the easiest way to see them. First one here from Pigtaku. Says, every day I'm about to leave for work and Lelouch comes to cat condo next door and demands pets. We have dubbed it the douchey goodbye.
He's so cute.
He's like, give me pets.
He's entitled to them.
He is. And this is from William. Says, this is my sister's dog, Amalfi, who accidentally took a photo that could be the cover of a romance novel. Yes, it could.
He's looking quite seductive.
He's looking
there.
seductive and a bit dapper, if I do say so myself.
His eyes are just totally invisible.
Yes, they are.
Like little buttons.
Let's do one more. This one here is from Pigtaku. He says, here's a rare pic of Wild Luna napping.
This is a little potato.
No. All right. All right. And we have cringe of the day. Here we go.
Yes, we do.
Model says airplanes need bigger seats for different body shapes.
Buying 2 airplane seats don't fix my problem. Airplanes are too small for big people. It's 2024.
This is
Bodies are
insane.
changing. So planes should too. I won't lose my to fit on a plane. So give me another solution or just make the seats bigger. Buying 2 airplane seats.
So, obviously she wasn't born with that size ass. She got a BBL, the most extreme I've ever seen, and she expects us to give her free plane seats to accommodate her giant BBL ass.
We got one here from Zach, a $20 one here from Zach. He says, if you make a clips channel, I promise you will get more subs. Many people, including myself, don't sub because they don't want a million clips in their subscription feed. Separate the show and the clips and you'll grow fast.
Well, we'll have to talk about that behind the scenes. I never really thought about it. Do you
I
think we
mean,
should?
most channels do have a lot of podcasts do have a separate clips channel.
But then that would kind of make us this channel just the live stream channel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to workshop
Camelcast in the chat, in the right below this says, has dozens of surgeries to make herself look like a cartoon, expects people in airlines to accommodate her personal choice.
Jacob Edler said it's an ad, Mary. Move on. Is it an ad for what?
An ad for what?
For BBLs?
Well, let's go.
Or for that airline?
I like how she sat in the very middle.
Honestly, if she were walking past me and her ass was taking up the entire aisle and she was brushing up against me with it, I would feel assaulted. I would feel violated.
In the chat, Chaotic Frosty says, waterbed ass.
It looks so strange. It gives me Uncanny Valley, but for a body. Decoy Voice said, no, you're fine with live and clips. You only need to separate your shorts on a separate channel.
We've had better luck keeping our shorts
Okay.
on this channel, I feel like.
Well, I mean, it's the only thing we've tried, so I guess we wouldn't know until we tried the other way.
Yep.
But I don't know.
Well,
We'll have to figure that out.
I'm guessing that most men are probably like, when she sits next to them, are like, I don't know how to feel about this.
There wasn't even room in the third seat.
There wasn't.
How does someone like that even live?
I don't know. Private. Like, the real question is, I would imagine most women who get that much plastic surgery probably fly private most of the time.
Yeah, because like, how did you afford that?
Exactly.
I don't know.
How did she afford that, but she's still riding in like an
economy seat?
class?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm gonna pay tens of thousands of dollars to be a victim.
Exactly. It's perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and get started then, shall we, guys? Now that we're only 30 minutes into the show, we're making good time today.
Yeah.
People always complain when we end early, but you know, let's we'll see where it goes. Perhaps we'll hang out till the end if people want to chat with us. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get started then. So last night the Grammys happened. Did you not know that? Don't worry, most people didn't. A lot of people didn't know that the Grammys happened last night. Well, as you know, Taylor Swift is becoming even more of a cultural icon each and every single day here, it seems like. Well, last night she finally met her match. She finally screwed up just one time, and watching the Media Machine cover for her was incredible. So what happened was she won her big award at the end there. She won it for Album of the Year, and as she went up to accept her award, first she does the thing where she pretends like she didn't know she was going to win, and she's super surprised and everything. Fine, great. But then as she's hugging everybody on her way up to the stage, well, the award was given to her by Celine Dion, who was making her first public appearance since her diagnosis with stiff person syndrome, and it was a big deal. She's a cultural icon as well. She's a legend in the music industry, so it makes perfect sense. Well, when Taylor went to get her award from her, she just kind of grabs it and then moves on.
Yeah. Do we have a clip to show her do it?
I can show
I
this to
honestly
people.
think this was blown out of proportion.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like it was blown out of proportion, but the thing is, when you're the king, you can't afford to make mistakes. When you're the queen, you can't afford to make mistakes.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
And the Grammy goes to...
The anticipation is killing me.
Everyone's like, oh, we know who's going to win.
Taylor Swift.
She's like, oh my God. I didn't know I had the best album of the year.
Anyways, we're gonna watch.
Oh, that awkward, that hug was like cringe. Okay, and she pulls all of her friends on stage and acts like a 12-year-old.
So there it is. And now watch. Legendary
Okay, so she snatches the Grammy without making eye contact.
Doesn't even look at her and just... Now look.
She only makes eye contact with the Grammy.
I believe 100% that this was an accident and she didn't mean anything rude by it. Doesn't matter.
Immediately, so many people were outraged by this and felt like Taylor Swift personally dissed Celine Dion by not looking her in the eye or saying thank you.
Clips like this made it up on Twitter within minutes.
Yes.
Here's the thing that shocked me. As soon as this went up, and I'm not even kidding you, moments later, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, all of these different outlets posted a picture that they took backstage, which is damage control. You can call it whatever you want. This is damage control because her publicist had the photo taken and it immediately went to these outlets.
I mean, it's kind of bizarre that you would need to damage control for something that was so almost negligible.
Yes,
I don't even see it as a faux pas almost.
Yeah.
I mean, what was she supposed to do? Like bow down at Celine Dion's feet?
Here, I can show you what she was supposed to do.
I mean, I'm sure that she, could have looked her in the eye and been a little bit more composed and cordial. But is that really the worst thing that Taylor Swift has ever done in recent memory?
That's the problem, right? Is what people are saying is when you're that high celebrity, you are walking on eggshells all the time, and you have to be very conscious of your public image.
I get that, but then the Taylor Swift media industrial complex swooped in to save her from this faux pas that she committed. And people posted it saying she didn't ignore her. They're chilling. So they also zoomed in on Celine Dion's face and they made it seem like she took it personally when I doubt she even thought about it, honestly.
Here's a clip of Adele.
Yeah.
That's what she was supposed to do. Okay, I'm just saying that's what people were criticizing.
Let's look at some tweets, though. One person said, Taylor not even acknowledging Celine Dion is not sitting right with my spirit. Girl, that is Celine Dion!
We got a $20 one here from Disco Jensen. Says, she's a hazard. Imagine an emergency and her large ass is blocking the emergency exit.
That is true.
Correct.
Threat to public safety.
She is.
So someone had the same theory as you, Brett. They said Taylor's PR. Taylor, there's a lot of controversy on social media because you ignored Celine. Taylor, go find her right now and let me take a picture just to pretend I love her.
And here's this photo that they're talking about. And all I'm saying is that what shocked me is how quickly the outlets pulled this out. So Variety had this up moments later.
Yeah, I mean, are you sure that it was intentional on Taylor Swift's part?
Yes, I absolutely believe that's intentional. I don't believe for a second that somebody who puts as many Easter eggs into her albums and somebody who is as carefully crafted of a public image as her does anything by mistake.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Here was another essay. that was written in Celine Dion's defense. I'm not listening to any excuses, especially after we watched how Miley acted with Mariah Carey at the show's start. This was not her first time at the Grammys, but her 4th time winning this award. It was her 13th Grammy overall, which is kind of interesting because 13 is Taylor Swift's lucky number. Swifties can dox me or whatever, but considering the significance of Celine coming to do this moment, to run around that stage, hugging and carrying on, and ultimately act as if this artist who has paved the way is not standing there is insane.
The point is that it was very much not an intentional faux pas, that it's very easy to take it out of context. And when your carefully crafted public image is reliant on you being a good person, you have to do everything right.
But do we really believe that Taylor Swift has any ill will towards Celine Dion?
Not at all.
It's just ridiculous, I think. Also, in her acceptance speech, she announced her new album, which is called The Tortured Poets Department. And I want to read an excerpt from one of those songs. And so I enter into evidence my tarnished coat of arms, my muses acquired like bruises, my talismans and charms, the tick, tick, tick of love bombs.
Ew.
My veins of pitch black ink. All is fair in love and poetry. Sincerely, the chairman of the Tortured Poets Department.
Also, this comment from Chief in the chat is what I like about it. He says, Taylor is much more of a boss and businesswoman, though, to be honest. Yes, it takes a lot of bossy businesswomanness to be able to project that Americana good girl image.
It was so infuriating to watch her reaction to the award, and I might be overreacting, but for her to look around like she's so shocked that she got the award is so homecoming queen of Hollywood to me. Like, she is literally the homecoming queen. And then they panned to other pop artists who were clapping for her after her album announcement, and they were just like, they had the most soulless look in their eyes as they were like smiling, like, good for her, I'm totally happy for her, while she's taking their business away.
Somebody says Tay-Tay secretly wrote Argylle. Yes, we actually have a video of that on our channel. You should go check it out after you watch this episode.
However, I'm now of the opinion that J.K. Rowling wrote Argylle.
We got a $20 one here from number 1 says, oh, you got that one?
These proper garden tools in Hollywood be shopping. The minute folks give up the cancer that is social media, the Hollywood star dies. Mary gonna do a blue hair fade. Cheers, champs.
How much would it cost to get a blue-haired fade for you, Mary?
If it would be like flushing down the toilet all the money I've spent on my hair so far, a lot. A lot. So we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. Weird. Also, you mentioned female acts won all of the televised awards at the Grammys.
I don't want to hear about the patriarchy anymore, ladies and gentlemen. All of them. Every single one.
Was that intentional, or do you think it just happened that way?
I don't know. Who knows?
But there is still so much more work to be done. It's never enough. Yes. Women are still oppressed in Hollywood and everywhere.
SZA, Miley Cyrus, Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, lots of them. Also, they also mentioned that Miley Cyrus didn't thank her dad in her speech.
Oh, yeah. Taylor Swift didn't thank Travis Kelce in her speech, and that was also raising some eyebrows.
I love the idea that he's like, I was going to propose to you at the Super Bowl, but now I'm not going to because you didn't thank me.
Someone replied, the New York Post is a 16-year-old girl, apparently. But this is what you get, Taylor, when you act like a teenage girl when in reality you are a 34-year-old woman.
Yes.
I mean, the way she was just
a businesswoman
cavorting around, just carrying on like that, it literally was like a girl winning prom queen.
Well, it's the same thing.
And bringing her friends on stage. Like, oh, I'm so shy. I'm not used to doing acceptance speeches on my 13th Grammy Award.
I like the idea that she's actually just doesn't want to go to these events because she doesn't want to have to keep giving speeches.
Yeah, it seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the moment, though.
But that wasn't it, though. Killer Mike, who just the other day was on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher couldn't get him to endorse Biden. Well, the conspiracy theorists are out in force now because he was arrested during the Grammys, before the show.
Do you have the clip of Killer Mike on Bill Maher?
Yes.
He said, can he get himself to apologize for the crime bill?
Yes.
I don't know exactly
What are your feelings on the election coming
The one
up?
that he wrote back in the 80s.
Oh, I see.
I mean, Biden and Trump. Are you as depressed about that as most people as a choice?
My feeling is pick your policy, not your person. Find out.
Very logical.
This is not the Dallas Cowboys versus your favorite team. This is the policies that will affect our generations for the next 20, 30, 40
Hearing logic coming from a man named Killer Mike is really
Jarring.
It's awesome. This rules.
years to come. So close your eyes, listen to the policies that are being pushed, and
Go off, King.
and pay attention even to the people who don't have a chance of winning, because they're going to say policies you may want to push. And I would say do that, but make it policy based.
So that means you're for.
That means I'm for black people and happy Black History Month.
But you're not saying one candidate over the other?
Hey man, my nigga, you ain't gonna get me in no trouble tonight. Hey,
No, that's your job with me, to get me in trouble.
My grandfather gave me some stellar advice sometimes. He said, son, sometimes you just got to know to stay out of white folks' business. And this time, I'm going to keep my mouth closed. I still like the policy that the old man had that I was supporting. I would encourage people to find who's supporting that policy and see what
But you can't get yourself to say vote for Biden over Trump?
You want me to list it now? So now
I'm just saying that.
Can he get himself to apologize for the crime bill? Can he get himself to get his head out of his ass and say, black people, you are black regardless. I need you to tell me what I need to do. Can he pick a coalition of former people who are affected by drug laws, street gangs, recidivism and crime, and say, I need you as a board to advise me how to fix federal prisons? If he can do that, absolutely I can. So my challenge is out there.
Okay.
Okay.
He was arrested for assault.
Yeah, he assaulted a security guard at the Grammys and got
Set up.
arrested
Free
on
my man,
site
Killer Mike.
at the arena in LA. You can see the video of him in cuffs. I have no idea what happened. I don't see any more details about
this
it.
video of him like where he's like getting into it with the security guard.
It's not on
I know.
screen.
So he's getting in with this guy. I like how his
What
person was like
happened?
basically hired to keep his umbrella above him the whole time though.
Even though it's like
They're fighting.
upside down now.
No, we don't know right there, but yeah.
And then of course, what's the sad thing was like people were making this about race.
Really?
On Twitter, yeah. And somebody pointed out, they said if that was true, then Will Smith would have been arrested for hitting Chris Rock the year before.
True. But it says that he was booked for misdemeanor battery.
Yes, battery. Yeah.
After a private citizen's arrest took place at the Crypto.com arena, and he was accused of knocking down a security officer after they didn't get out of his way quick enough. It shows him being chased down outside in the windy rain, where security personnel can be seen attempting to stop him, with Mike looking determined to get by them. You can't see any knockdown as has been described to us by law enforcement, but it does look like he faces off with security guards.
Yep. In the chat, definitely not a Fed has good advice. He says, stop worshiping celebs. All of them will let you down, even the ones that say shit you like on TV. Yes, absolutely. Much like what he's saying about policies is you should pay attention to what is said and talk about that and not worship at the altar of whether that celebrity agrees with you or not, which is just stupid.
Well, if he's so level-headed and reasonable, can he refrain from getting into tussles with security guards when he's invited to an event?
After winning 3 Grammys. He won 3 Grammys.
So I guess he took those into police custody.
Must have, yeah. He says, so he won for Best Rap Song, Best Rap Performance, and Best Rap Album.
Interesting.
So my man's got some clout now.
I thought he was just a producer, as you said, but
so yeah, that was interesting to see. But he's right. You should not worship at the altar of what celebrities say, because even if they agree with you, the whole point is that people. What we've learned from celebrities is most of the time their opinions are open to the highest bidder. They go whichever way the wind blows. They have no actual loyalty to their ideas. Most of them. I can't say whether that's true for this guy or not, but it's a good rule of thumb to just assume that they're going to let you down.
I thought it was Jack Posobiec, I might be wrong, who kind of tweeted a suggestion that Killer Mike's arrest had something to do with him not endorsing Biden, which is a little bit ridiculous.
He says 2 days ago on Bill Maher, Killer Mike refused to endorse Biden. Tonight he gets arrested at the Grammys. What's going on? That is
could this be
Jack,
a conspiracy?
That's a bit of a reach, I think, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we'll see.
And now people are arguing about whether rap is real music or not.
Ben Shapiro proved to all of us that it is.
Very much is a real. It's very real.
Yeah. Why wasn't Ben Shapiro invited to the Grammys?
Yeah, he wants to know.
He didn't get the connection. Also, Kanye was not at the Grammys, but that's because he hasn't released music in the past year. Although if he had, I doubt that he would be invited anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna let him. Go.
No,
it just doesn't seem like a thing. Also, there was this video of apparently Travis Scott was at a concert and throwing a fit after not winning a Grammy. That was also
Was he invited?
No, he wasn't there. He was at he wasn't there,
but he was mad that he didn't get one.
Supposedly, it's really funny how what do you think about this? The fact that nowadays with all the big stories, you don't actually have to watch these events. If you have Twitter, you can just see it all unfold as it happens and not have to watch any of the crap that goes on in the middle that nobody cares about. They were talking about how Trevor Noah finally did a Taylor Swift joke correctly. And basically it's because he wasn't making fun of Taylor Swift. He was making fun of people for caring that Taylor Swift goes to football games. So the only way that you can make fun of a celebrity is by not making fun of them.
By making fun of people who don't like that celebrity because we worship them like a deity.
Yes, which is so lame and stupid.
Well, it's a good thing that you can watch the Grammys in a certain sense without giving them any ratings. And I'd be interested to see if they got more ratings this year than last.
Well, that probably will come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or it's probably already out now, but later afterwards. I do also want to point out that one of the reasons that we kind of tell you guys that TMZ isn't the worst of the outlets, they at least covered the Taylor Swift thing rather than just running cover. They put on the headline, says Taylor Swift awkwardly ignores Celine Dion on stage, ... makes up for it with sweet pick.
Imagine if it weren't Celine Dion hosting, if it were, I don't know, if it were Beyonce.
Yeah.
If she failed to make eye contact with Beyonce and say thank you and hug her or whatever, she would be instantly maligned as a racist.
Yeah.
Yep. Instantly. So, I don't know. I feel like the outrage about that is overblown anyways, but it would have been so much worse had it been someone else.
Yep.
Let's look at Superchats.
Let's do it.
Jacob Paradis, I don't know how.
Parody, maybe?
Paradis said, hey, PCC, thanks for the shout out last week. Narbar's Candles has pineapple. Let's go. Yeah, you shouted out your candle business.
So pineapple candles. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't eat pineapple. Do you eat pineapple?
No, not really. But it might smell good. Tacty Plotty said, I agree with Shane. Argylle was enjoyable. Wife agrees. I kept thinking of you guys because it was a movie that wasn't some remake or sequel. Original.
Yep. I had fun. I really do believe that they had the makings of a fantastic. I thought the movie. Mary really liked it. I thought the movie was fine, but I think it had the makings of a really, really good movie if they had stuck to the formula of the first half, which showed. Was it Aiden? What was his character's name? Sam Rockwell's character.
Yeah, Aiden.
Where they had Aiden protecting Bryce Dallas Howard's character because Ellie was unbelievably charming as this fish out of water woman who's just all of a sudden there's spy crap happening all around her and gunfights and all this stuff.
But she keeps her whimsy.
Yes.
After she finds out who she really was.
No, and she helps. That's the thing. She just can't do the physical stuff, but she helps track down the clues despite the fact that she's scared. There's something really, really charming and likable about that. And then they had to go down the modern girl boss route for the second half, and it just lost a little bit.
I disagree with framing it that way because they didn't make her into a badass instantly. They as soon as they also allowed her to continue being Ellie and Rachel Kyle. After she found out her previous identity.
It was the part where they're in
she kept her whimsy. She kept her cat and everything.
They're on the vineyard, and she suddenly remembers who she is, and she flips him over, and all of a sudden she's a badass. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
She didn't, she's out of shape now.
Yeah.
For 5 years, she hasn't been working out. Yeah, it's a little bit whatever. I liked it. It was fine. Shane H. Wilder said, y'all should see Mr. Right. A quirky assassin, Sam Rockwell, falls in love with a normie, Anna Kendrick. It's funny and it's only 96 minutes.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't found... I personally have never found Anna Kendrick to be all that...
Va-va-voom.
No. I think she's plenty pretty. I don't find her all that engaging as an actress.
Oh.
She was in The Accountant with Ben Affleck, and she was very much just like a place filler in that movie. Like she could have been like, I feel like if they had made that movie 3 years later, it would have been Ana de Armas.
Yeah,
in that role,
fair.
Which makes sense because she dated Ben Affleck.
Tacti Platty said our theater was packed and parking lot full.
Awesome.
During Argylle.
Well, so all the tickets went to your theater. That's awesome. Your theater literally had all of them. Let's hold off on the rest and let's come back after the fact. All right, Mary, tell us about Shane Gillis.
If you guys don't know, Shane Gillis is a comedian, and he unfortunately was the victim of cancel culture back in 2019. So back then, he was going to join the SNL cast, but they fired him unceremoniously because clips resurfaced of him online saying jokes that were deemed too off-color for their taste. This is their statement at the time. Lorne Michaels said, after talking with Shane Gillis, we've decided he will not be joining SNL. We were not aware of his prior remarks that have surfaced over the past few days.
Okay,
the language is offensive, hurtful, and unacceptable. We're sorry we didn't see these clips earlier and that our vetting process was not up to standard.
That's the problem here. Like, none of these places seem to have strong enough vetting, especially given the standards you hold yourself to and how utterly terrified you are of what people say about you. You should have unbelievably rigorous vetting processes.
No, though.
Processes?
This was back in 2019, and that was kind of when cancel culture was in its infancy, or at least the term hadn't been as popularized as it is today. I actually remember like being in high school and trying to explain to one of my teachers what cancel culture was with another student. Like, a lot of people just had never heard the term before, and it was still at its height. It was sort of like after the Me Too movement, the cancel culture and the Mean Too movement was at its height. So he was fired from the SNL cast because these clips got resurfaced by a bunch of crybabies. And should we explain what he said? I watched a couple of these clips, and he was imitating like Asian accents. He was making comments like, he said, like, get those ducks out of that window. That's more annoying than any other minority playing music loud on their phone. He was talking about how Chinatown disgusts him. And there were other jokes he made that were deemed ableist, homophobic. I've seen them reposted in the past few days. Well, now he's making a comeback. Shane Gillis is getting a career comeback because he just got a sponsorship with Bud Light. Really interesting that they offered him this sponsorship after the Dylan Mulvaney scandal. Yeah. So I saw Bud Light appears to be in desperation mode, partnering with right-leaning comedian Shane Gillis.
What exactly qualifies him as right-leaning?
Right-leaning is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Yeah. To assume that someone is right-leaning or politically right just because they made off-color jokes or comments at one point, it doesn't mean that they have those political views. It just means that he's a funny man.
There is something hilarious about the idea that now to be anything other than rigidly part of the machine, you're considered right-leaning. I would say that I'm not right-wing. But I would be would slandered be the right word there? I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I'm saying, like, for most celebrities, there's plenty of celebrities who make jokes that are off color, but you don't just label them as such.
Well, Shane Gillis is about as off color of a comedian you can be while still having leftist fans.
Yes.
That's how I would classify him. Gillis, who is a polar opposite from Dylan Mulvaney, is popular for his gay jokes and pro-conservative takes.
Which, again, just means not hyper leftist.
Yeah, let's show this clip of him from one of his specials. It says this is one of his gay jokes that was deemed homophobic.
Dude, there's a lot of people.
Okay, this last one is from his Joe Rogan appearance.
That automatically will associate homosexuality with some kind of perversion for whatever unfortunate reason.
Well, it's because the reason is because it's guys fucking each other in the butt. So that throws some people off.
That throws people.
That was pretty funny. Also, he has a really good Trump impression. I'll give him that. I think it's the best Trump impression that I've ever heard. And that was in the replies to that tweet. He seems, pretty funny and pretty inoffensive. And I would just like I wouldn't say Dave Chappelle is right leaning, and I wouldn't say Ricky Gervais is right leaning. I wouldn't say Shane Gillis is right leaning. He's just a comedian who doesn't abide by certain standards of sensitivity for our modern audiences, which is fine. But we don't need to immediately, like, it just gives me so much secondhand embarrassment when I see people on political right Twitter immediately try to stan someone who seems to not hate them, you know? Like, finally, someone who doesn't always, you know, like, show contempt for people who are right-wing or isn't avidly leftist or whatever. Like, you don't need to simp for someone and call them right-leaning just because they made off-color jokes that you thought were funny.
Also, those are the same
He's
people
doing
who
what he's
will-
supposed to do as a comedian. Right?
Most of them will also tell you that you shouldn't worship celebrities, but the moment one celebrity agrees with them, they're like, I always liked that guy. Like, the idea shouldn't be that. The idea is you should be able to talk about what that celebrity said. If you agree with it, great, but never hold the person above the idea, ever, because the person can always let you down. Your ideals and your beliefs and what you think of the world at large, that usually stays pretty consistent as you grow, right? Maybe some of your views change as you get into adulthood, you grow, but the ideas will never let you down. The people will always let you down.
As for Shane Gillis's Bud Light sponsorship, I just view this as another step they're taking to try to recover their brand image with the people who used to support them, who boycotted them. Just like the, what was it? They sponsored the UFC as well, which Dana White is obviously, he is right-leaning.
And that hasn't taken a hit as far
and
as
then they did like an ad that was like showing a country music festival or something.
I feel like people thought the UFC was going to take a huge hit and it didn't.
Yeah, but Bud Light did take a hit, and that was actually a victory for the political right. It's just like, I don't know why you're suddenly claiming that Shane Gillis is on your side politically when he's just trying to do what comedians do, which is be funny.
It is interesting to see him kind of like, I had to like plumb the depths of my brain to remember this story all the way back in 2019 of him being hired at SNL and me being like, and you guys didn't do any research into this guy beforehand? Like, what is the hiring process like over there?
Well, he actually talked about the hiring process when he talked about his cancellation on Joe Rogan, and I watched that clip. He basically said that you do a stand-up routine in front of the writers and Lorne Michaels, obviously. And you're not supposed to look at them. You're not supposed to make eye contact with them. And you're told that they're not going to laugh. They're not going to react to anything you say. And you just have to perform on the real stage as if there's a full audience there. And that sounds incredibly difficult, but he made it through the callback process. And they obviously thought that he was funny. So I think that now Shane Gillis is doing Shane Gillis is hosting SNL. And this seems like a turning of the tide away from cancel culture because they were willing to admit defeat.
Somebody reminded me in the chat. Yes, Nikki Haley ended up on Saturday Night Live this past week.
Wait, the real
Nikki
Haley.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yep, during the cold open.
Oh no.
Yep.
Oh no. See, this is why people don't watch SNL.
Yes.
And here's the truth. SNL needs Shane Gillis more than Shane Gillis needs SNL at this point, which means it's sweet revenge, right? But I'm still frustrated that SNL gets to have their cake and eat it too, essentially. They get to cancel Shane Gillis back when that was trendy. They get to throw him to the wolves back in 2019, and now they get to have him monologue, and that benefits them, not him.
Yeah.
So they get to have their cake and eat it too.
That's the benefit of being the establishment.
Right.
That's the benefit of being the legacy.
But for how much longer?
Yeah. No,
people aren't watching SNL.
I mean, they're going to have to eventually, they're talking about who they're going to have Tina Fey possibly take over SNL.
Wow.
In the next couple of years, if possible.
That would just be because they're still friendly.
She would probably do good. Doing that. She's I wouldn't say that she's like she's a very big producer in Hollywood now, but she's got a lot of credibility and a lot of history there. So
I think that a lot of people are hoping Shane Gillis will tear apart SNL in his monologue and kind of do what Dave Chappelle did, which they said that Dave Chappelle gave a fake monologue to the SNL writers and then did his own thing when they were live, so they couldn't stop him. Maybe Shane Gillis will do something similar.
That's
and
gotta be scary,
make fun of them for canceling him.
No practice beforehand, like no on stage practice of that.
Someone like Dave Chappelle could do it easily, though.
Yeah, and that is really interesting that you point that out too, right? Because Dave Chappelle gets instantly labeled as right wing now because of his stance on trans issues, when we all know that that's not true. And if you've watched any of his stand up, you know that. But it's almost like it shows to you just how rigid their beliefs are, that you don't just have to agree with them on one box, you have to agree with them on literally every box, or you're this. There's no nuance to anyone. You either agree with us on every issue or you're an other.
Right.
And that's a depressing and annoying way to live. Like, I don't even like these ideas of having to label somebody as a comedian that is this or that. Like, we wouldn't have done this 20 years ago.
The ridiculous thing is, like,
nobody would have sweated whether George Carlin was left or right because he was anti-establishment. He was just a comedian who was good at his job.
Why do we care what Shane Gillis's political opinions are? Why do we care what Dave Chappelle's political opinions are?
Yeah.
I don't. That's not his job.
Yep.
Commenting on politics isn't his job. Making jokes about politics might be.
Yeah, in the chat, so he points out Dave Chappelle and J.K. Rowling have that in common. They disagree with you on one topic, therefore you're othered forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
But as far as I know, Shane Gillis has literally never made a political statement in his career, nor should he. And I just think it's embarrassing to watch right-wingers constantly flock around these public figures in pop culture, like comedians or actors or whoever it is, and hail them as like our guy or like J.K. Rowling's our girl. It's like, no, they're just a creative. They're not a pundit, and we don't want them to be that, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, wasn't that our whole mantra, is that creatives in these industries shouldn't presume to be political pundits because they don't know what they're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of cringe to me.
I mean, this is never, in the age of the internet, though, in the age of the internet, though, that is never going away because nobody can just leave it at the art anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to then go look for their social media platform. You have to go see what they're saying about this and that. And to be fair, J.K. Rowling has done that, right? She's turned her creative endeavors into a very large platform in which she very much enjoys being a pundit of sorts on specific topics. It's not like
J.K. Rowling should host SNL.
That would be hilarious.
I would love to see it.
Her and Blair White can do a show.
It'll never happen, but I'll just.
And I'm kind of with you.
I have dreams.
Her and you're kind of right. Her and Celine Dion do look a little bit alike.
They do. Yeah, someone commented that, and I said it before we were live.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Aardvark said, having a Gen X Zen moment watching Tracy Chapman's return, then they cut to Swift singing along and ruining it.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Is like
what happened?
So Tracy Chapman, who did the original version of the song "Fast Car," performed it with Luke Combs, who does the one that blew up last year, and they performed it together. And it was cool to see
at the Grammys.
Oh,
okay.
Because that was a big song back when it was 36 years old. So that song came out when I was like a year old or something like that. So.
I saw Taylor Swift actually did a performance of Fast Car with Tracy Chapman before.
Did you?
Yeah. So it's not like a new thing. T-Dog said Euphoria is what Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, I don't know if I said that right, wanted Riverdale to be. He loves sexualizing underage teenagers too. Watch Spartacus, Blue-Eyed Samurai, The Chosen.
They would have never gotten away with that as much with Riverdale because it was on network television. It was on CW.
Oh, true.
So they wouldn't have allowed that to be. Let's do two more.
Shane H. Wilder said her ass is her own life preserver if they have to make an emergency water landing.
Well, that's good because then
people will have to like grab onto her ass to avoid drowning.
The thing is, then now
She's
there's
a
an
lifeboat.
extra seat because they always say use your seat as a life preserver. So she can give her seat to someone else, perhaps a small child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually saving lives.
Let's do one
BBLs
more.
are saving lives, guys. 60 Watt said Taylor snubbed Celine. Oh no. However will my heart go on.
However will her heart go on. It's very, very sad. All right, let's hold off on the rest and come back. All right, let's talk about this expose that Film Threat did.
Yeah, last week you guys turned our attention to this. So Chris Gore published an open letter from an anonymous member of the Writers Guild. He stayed anonymous because he was worried about getting blacklisted for what he was about to say. Here's the title: A Veteran Screenwriter's Plot Twist on Hollywood's DEI Cultural Shift. And this is an open letter from a white writer to the film and TV business. And he's calling for a change back to what this business used to be before DEI took over. He's saying that this regime essentially blocks you from getting jobs if you are white, straight, or male. Here are some quotes, though. For the last 20 years, I've been working as a professional screenwriter. In 2019, things started to change, and quickly. Suddenly, subtext and themes became the main point of discussing a project or IP. The first question in every meeting became, what can we say with this project? What can we teach people with this story? Plot, character, and audience were now secondary and sometimes not even discussed, which is already evident to us in the material as we watch it.
Everyone knew that, but hearing it actually kind of confirmed by someone from behind the scenes, it's kind of a
we feel
kind of
seen, heard, validated, etc.
It's really funny. Okay, this is one of those things where because most of the television that I watch is old, every time I'm watching it, I'm like, I can't point you to specific proof, but the proof is in the material, right? And you watch these old shows, and I always point out, I say, there is a sense of hope and a sense of there's just an ability for the show to rejoice the human spirit. I can't even put it into words in a lot of these shows. There's just a sense of hopefulness towards the future that you do not see in most modern entertainment today. Not any of it with a sense, most of it has a sense of cynicism that you just can't point specifically to, but it's there.
Yeah, I don't know where this was from, but I saw a scene from something Donald Glover was in, reposted on X the other day, where it's...
Atlanta?
Wait, what?
From the show Atlanta?
I'm not sure, but he was like at some hotel and he tried to pay in cash for these VIP tickets or something. They turned him away, and then they accepted cash payment from the next customer, who was a white man. When he went up to that white guy and tried to say something, the guy flashed a gun at him that was on his hip. And they were like presenting this as something that really happens in the real world. Like, we're still living in the Jim Crow era. And it's that nihilistic messaging that you're referring to.
The writers who wrote 20 years ago would have written about racial issues in a different way because it was not treated with the severity that it's treated with now. It would have been, I always point out to the example that in the show Justified, they mentioned that the character of Boyd Crowder was basically, he got involved with white supremacists, not because he was a white supremacist, but because he loved to blow things up. And he was just a bad guy, right? They actually have the character point out, they say he got involved with the militia movement and the white supremacist bullshit, because they're pointing out that these are not people to be taken seriously. These are bad people. And first of all, we all know now that the number of people that actually are part of those groups is so negligible now that it's not even something to be acknowledged. And it would have been shown that way. So you still address it, you still bring it up, but it's not given the focus that it's given today because it's divisive and because everyone can tell that they're being pandered to.
Right. Here are some more quotes. He said, at one point, my agent told me they couldn't put me up for any writing assignments or TV staffing jobs because the executives only wanted to hear takes on the material from BIPOC, female, or LGBTQ writers. Some shows started instituting quotas that 40 to 50% of the writing staff had to be people of color, which is obviously an overrepresentation. Is this illegal? Probably, but hey, I'm not an attorney, and there's no way to find out anyway, because if you ask any questions about this, you'll be labeled a racist or called out for your white male privilege.
The cultural consequences would outweigh the benefit of actually suing.
If you so much as raise an eyebrow, there's a risk you'll never work again. Why this is anonymous. So do you respect that he kept this anonymous?
Look, it's the same.
Because I don't.
It's the same thing that we had, like when we had Argylle on Friday. Like, it's hard for people to buy. You're not going to get the same traction when you don't name names.
Well, that's a whole different.
Yes,
I mean, when you're making
I
like
understand. No, I understand.
I'm not saying either way that I think she should or shouldn't name people. But that's like a Me Too claim is a whole different ballgame. But this guy is talking about industry politics.
Yes.
And he's been in this business for decades. He's calling out a change that happened that needs to be reversed. And he's not willing to put his name on the letter.
It won't. So basically, the idea here is he will continue to work for the scraps that he's given, because despite he talks about he has decades of experience. Despite being qualified, he is going to get scraps now because he's not going to be allowed to work to the level in which his talent allows. He's accepting that those scraps are worth not making waves, because what will happen if he makes waves is he won't get any work at all. Or what will happen is he will be ghettoized and be forced to work on Daily Wire movies when maybe he doesn't want to work on Daily Wire movies.
I doubt that this guy is even vaguely right-wing.
But that's my point. Like,
He's
come out
very
at
liberal.
all, to come out at all will immediately make you will immediately label you as right wing.
I understand the consequences, the unofficial or official blacklisting that happens. I do. But at the same time, it's sort of like when Me Too accusers themselves remain anonymous, or they accuse anonymous people who they're not willing to name. It takes away from the gravity of what you're saying.
Exactly.
He said this doesn't impact the top 2% of writers, showrunners, and directors, since they're in a rarefied air where they get work no matter what. It's those of us with decades of experience working on some of your favorite TV shows and films that are now sitting on the sidelines waiting. He also pointed out that the Writers Guild holds a Latinx Writers Committee meeting, an LGBTQ plus Writers Committee meeting, Committee of Black Writers, a Middle Eastern Writers meeting, a Women's Writers Committee meeting, and an Asian American Writers Committee meeting, to name just a few. Can you imagine if there was a white Writers Committee meeting? We might be murdered. Yeah. And he also pointed out that if there were such a thing, all of the people in that room would be the liberals who allowed this to happen. Yep. It's not like they want a change. When creating a writer's profile on the WGA website, there is one box to check if you're heterosexual, 3 choices under transgender, and 6 under LGBTQ. Not sure what those statistics have to do with writing a great episode of The Witcher.
It's crazy because back in the day, like now imagine like filling out a resume and these things matter more than your actual credentials.
Yeah, I actually did pull up the Writers Guild of America application form for membership, and it does ask you all of these different questions about your identity groups. And here's what it says. Help us help you. As part of the Inclusion and Equity Department's initiative to increase hiring opportunities for various groups of writers, the Guild periodically publishes specialized membership directories to provide lists of groups of writers to network studios and producers who have a particular interest in hiring writers in these groups. So you can indicate that you are okay with publishing what ethnicity you are, what languages you speak, your age group, your gender identity.
It also incentivizes it
sexual
in a way
identity
where, like,
and
look,
disability.
Back in the day, it would have been a point of pride for any gifted writer to be like, look, you don't need to know my race or my gender. All you need to know is the talent that I bring to the table, right? Now it's incentivized to make it known because it will get you more work. And look, in this economy, are you kidding me? Like, I always point this out. I say, when these actors take these jobs or these writers take these jobs, am I supposed to be mad at them for taking a job that they're being given for something that they might not have earned? No.
Well, that's exactly the point that he made.
He points out that most of it is incentivized because it's done through equity programs that then hire them on for one season, and then when the money for that runs out, that person is not renewed.
Well, that's because the Guild uses their pot of money to pay these diversity hires. And he said the exact same that you did. Can you blame them? It's easy to get here, especially when talent takes a back seat to fitting a quota. Why worry? The showrunner and their number one will pick up the slack. They can't complain about that episode you turned in late or didn't turn in at all, and they'll be called racist or a bigot and get a call from HR. It's just easier to shut up and run cover for these kids who aren't ready for the big time.
And then he talks about how like most of them are wondering why they aren't getting showrunner positions after like 2 years, when in Hollywood it used to take 20 years before a show was entrusted to you.
And we see this same trend whenever Gen Z talks about joining the workforce. Yeah. They're like, my degree in marketing is the experience, so I should be making an executive salary when I'm 2 years graduated from college.
Correct.
It's no surprise that Gen Zers or young millennials who have joined the TV and film writing business think the same way.
I don't even know if I'd put millennials in this category. I think this is a Gen Z thing and onward.
Depends. I mean, if they're in their 20s,
Yeah.
so that does cover some of them. And after this open letter was published, Chris Gore published a new article addressing it, and his response includes several messages from other guild members or other professionals from the music industry, from the publishing industry, and all of them chose to stay anonymous for fear of career-ending backlash or getting blacklisted. So here's what that said. There is a bias toward the 2-fer or 3-fer hire. Being gay, for example, isn't enough now. You have to be gay, African American, Latinx, undocumented, unhoused, differently abled. On the DEI scorecard, they have a 2 times or 3 times positive score for the hire.
Remember Friday when we talked about the Disney wheel of wokeness?
It's that.
With the privilege wheel.
You need to have multiple layers of oppression in order to qualify for one of these quota jobs. And I saw Siaka shared a tweet over the weekend that says, okay, black men, listen up. In order for you to renew your oppression card for 2024, you're going to have to find another dude and clap his cheeks. Or allow him to clap your cheeks. At the very least, give him an HJ. Next year, you're going to have to be trans. No exceptions. Start saying goodbye to your penis right now and size yourself up for a pair of boobs. I don't make the rules.
The biggest lie out of all of this is that any of it attributes to making you a better storyteller. It does not.
Well,
It doesn't.
the argument that they come up with is this. You know, you have this specific experience as a Native American amputee who is bisexual.
Doesn't make you a better
and that means
storyteller.
that you can write a story about someone who has the same experience as you.
They make a point when we were watching Argylle that the character of Ellie Conway does the job she does so well because she does endless research. Research and natural ability, or I guess, or learned ability, if you actually went to school for it, right, will lead you the way far more than just happening to have the same characteristics as a character you're writing. No wonder we're in a world full of endless self-inserts now.
Right.
And I do want to reiterate, like I said, I actually have a hard time putting it into words just why it was that television and movies was so much better back then. I think part of it is these were liberal people who cared about race and gender and sexuality and oppression, but understood that it couldn't be the top layer of the story because it didn't concern their life every day. Mm-hmm. But the problem is now, because of our phones and because of the 24-hour endless news cycle, it is the top of the thought list for everyone who is a new writer. So instead of it being something that, I go to work and I write, and then in my free time I read the news, or I read the New Yorker, and it's got all these great articles, maybe I'll incorporate that into a story somewhere, right? Now it's the first thing they write about, and then the story comes second. Mm-hmm. And there is just an unbelievable loss that's been had. And I'm not talking about blockbuster movies from 30 years ago or 20 years ago. I'm talking about television from 2010. I'm not talking about that long ago, 15 years ago. There's that viral tweet that went, that viral tweet from a couple of months ago that's just re-picked up steam. It says, can you name me a father on television who's in good shape, has a loving wife, kids respect him, and has a good job, blah, blah, blah. Can you name a TV show in the last 15 years that have that? And the joke was everyone was saying Ozark or Breaking Bad. Yeah. Because he's a criminal in both, there are criminals in both of them. But I'm just saying, we lost something that we didn't know. The golden age of television, as the head writer from HBO was talking about, we have lost the golden age of television, and it didn't need to be lost. It didn't get lost because we suddenly had a rash of deaths in which all of these great writers died. No, they're still there. Mm-hmm. They're all still there. And that's why they point out that, look, the cream rises to the top, right? The best writers will continue to get work. The dudes who did Breaking Bad will consider to make stuff. Those guys came from things like the X-Files, which was big in the 90s. All of these great writers will continue to exist, and they will still continue to win awards.
Yeah.
But we're going to have endless filler. And then you have all of these people who are looking for work and need jobs, and you think about what you could have. 80 streaming services, every single one of them theoretically could have good writers on it if they didn't freeze people out.
Well, those white guys who are in the top 2% of the TV and film business, they're going to get grandfathered in as the DEI regime takes over, but there's not going to be any new writers who are white, male, straight, cis.
We've got Taylor Sheridan
getting accepted.
And Taylor Sheridan would be an example of somebody who is a left-leaning dude who knows how to write stories that appeal to everyone.
True. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. But well, no, I will say it. Okay. Reading Chris Gore's response to this, when we have all this evidence, it irritated me because he's playing both sides. He said, I'm in favor of diversity in general, especially for stories where it makes sense. There was a notable show about the deaf community that amazingly didn't have a single deaf writer on the writing staff. Instead, they relied on consultants. That likely reduced the authenticity, and they lost out on many unique deaf stories.
Wouldn't it have been the job of the consultants to do that?
Right, yeah. We want original, authentic, and diverse stories, but they can't just check boxes. Who is we? Because I never said it. I mean, original, authentic, that sounds nice. Diverse doesn't matter to me at all. So I'm not going to be included in the we want this or that. Like, that doesn't reflect me. And I think that a lot of these industries, like the publishing industry or fashion or anything in these creative arts, all of them were made up of liberals. But in the mid 2010s, everything started going way hard left, and you either rolled with the punches and got radicalized in that direction, or you were left behind. Yeah. The liberals who were just carefree and casual about it, but still bought into the ideology, they got left behind, and now they're considered right-leaning. Yep. But yeah, I disagree. Like, I don't think that they needed to have a deaf writer on their staff in order to write a story about someone who's deaf. That's ridiculous.
The idea of hiring a consultant is perfect for that.
Right, exactly. Or, you don't need a lawyer on your writing staff in order to write She-Hulk.
I mean, the thing is most, actually, okay. So
you need consultants, right?
So they actually point that out. So they point out that when She-Hulk was made, they went to try writing lawyer scenes and none of them could do it. So they stopped, okay? And to be fair, the guy who wrote Suits, the showrunner for Suits, Aaron Korsh, I don't remember his name is Aaron's. Last name's Korsh, lawyer. Right? So he has plenty of knowledge about how that's working. I do think that it matters, but the idea is like, do you need, how important is that plot? Are we talking about like one character? Or are we talking about an entire theme for a show? I don't think it's unreasonable to have at least one person who has done that, who has credibility within the industry. How many of those are there?
Okay. Do you need a doctor on your writing staff? A salaried writer.
They use consultants
in order to write an episode of House.
They use consultants.
No, that's
the
argument on its face. I reject.
Cop shows do the same thing. They have law enforcement. They have consultants, usually ex-FBI or ex-LAPD, who are there to inform them about procedure. What would it look like? Okay, they're doing like an entry into a room. What would it look like while they're doing this? For gosh sakes, it took them 20 years to figure out how to show them how to hold guns in Hollywood. I'm not even kidding you. Like, there are old things telling you where they would grab like their arm. Well, so consultants, right? How important is it to the writing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that Chris Gore really didn't take all of that evidence at face value and just admit that this is a problem. Like, I don't know. It's just the difference is you're not considered oppressed if you are in a certain profession. You're considered oppressed if you are differently abled, if you are black or brown, or if you have some kind of sexual orientation, whatever. But he also said anyone who questions the new orthodoxy will of course be denounced as not promoting a diverse workspace or racist. The system encourages cry-bullies who complain of oppression as a means of moving up the ladder. This creates an incentive system of complaining about slights, perceived slights, or microaggressions, and folks are on eggshells for fear of offending DEI standards, which are forever shifting. Yeah. And he pointed out the Oscar standards are changing now.
Yep.
So a movie like Dunkirk would no longer be eligible for an Oscar because there are too many white guys in it.
Carbon Heart says, writers draw from experience. It's impossible to have enough consultants to make every different character genuine. Yes, the idea of what qualifies as genuine is so unbelievably subjective anyways. It's like, what does that even matter?
Yeah.
Like, most of the time, it's like, is the character likable? Do you want to see more? Is he likable as a good guy? Is he likable as a bad guy? Is he somebody you love to hate? Right? Like, that's what actually
He said,
matters.
we want original, authentic, and diverse. I honestly only care about original in that sentence. I honestly don't care if it's authentic. Just make something original, make it good. But you also found this comment from Issa Rae, who was in the Barbie movie, talking about the current leaders of Hollywood. She said, there aren't a lot of smart executives anymore. A lot of them have aged out and are holding on to their positions and refusing to let young blood get in, which is the direct opposite. It's a direct contradiction of everything that we've just said.
The opposite of what's true.
Yeah. And she's also complained that Black stories are less of a priority for Hollywood.
That is not true.
And for this reason, she has considered going the independent route, which we would support, actually. Don't rely on Hollywood studios for your stories to get made.
The great thing is she could do this on her own, right? It's like, I would love for more of these people who have the same issues with Hollywood we do, but from an opposite perspective. We said this a lot during the writer's strike, right? Or actually, like, go independent. Create a YouTube channel and create the shorts and the skits and the movies that you wanna make. Do it on your own. Have complete control over your ability to tell the story you want. The difference is what they crave is the ability to feel validated. They want the actual legitimacy that Hollywood supposedly provides them.
Right.
But they can't make it on their own, because to make it on your own, you have to be able to do it without the legitimacy of the industry. That's why I think a lot of people liked Ashley Johnson in the Critical Role YouTube channel, right? Like, Critical Role was a success on its own, and she was a famous, I mean, I guess famous. She was a well-used Hollywood actress. She was in Blind Spot and she was in all sorts of guest starring roles on top of doing that and doing animated stuff and being a voice actress. So they brought legitimacy to this YouTube channel, which then Hollywood bought into and turned into Vox Machina on Amazon Prime.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yes, exactly.
And see where it goes.
That started as something they did on their own and grew to be successful, and they were able to turn it into something into the Hollywood sphere.
Yeah.
That's what they should shoot for. That's what people should be shooting for.
Well, the mantra, according to Chris Gore, is male and pale is stale.
Yes.
Is that something that you had heard before?
Yes.
I had never heard this phrase before.
No.
Like, where did this come from?
I just hear it on Twitter. People use that phrase. Usually not in this one, which is very much something that they're criticizing, something that's actually used. It's kind of like when they type white YT.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yep.
And then capitalize black. Yeah, here was Issa Rae's direct quote. You're seeing so many black shows get canceled, citing the recent mass cancellation of minority-centered shows, which is something we talked about on the show. You're seeing so many executives, especially on the DEI side, get canned. You're seeing very clearly now that our stories are less of a priority. It's made me take more steps to try to be independent down the line if I have to.
She should.
She should do it.
She should go and work
independently. I dare you to do that and see if anybody watches, because people aren't interested in these shows. Sorry. Like, let the money speak for itself.
And then if it's successful, you have even more of an argument.
If it's successful, rub it in my face and tell me I'm wrong and told you so. But I doubt that it will be, because you need, Hulu or Apple TV to fund you. That's just the truth.
All right, let's go to Super Chats. Let's get a second crisis party, guys.
Jake Martin said, millions of people watched Will Smith assault someone on live TV, then accept an Oscar 10 minutes later like nothing ever happened.
Yes.
Good point. Is this a double standard for Killer Mike?
Yes. I mean, it's just short memories. People have very short memories.
Well, it was after he received the awards, right?
What?
That he got arrested.
Yes.
So, not quite the same. Left-Handed Link said, Brett, rejoice. Jim Carrey is back for Sonic 3.
Yeah, I thought he was supposed to retire. He was saying
what
that he was
happened to
going to retire, but I guess, he's great in that role. So
they offered a big paycheck.
Yeah,
and he was like,
you'll always take these, like, how many millions of dollars? Like, I could use a new boat. Let's go.
Carnell said, implying that Jim Carrey can't afford a boat.
I know.
Carnell,
a new boat. Another boat.
A yacht.
bigger yacht.
said, at this point, what do you think are the odds of Taylor Swift rumors of her being in a cameo in Deadpool 3 as Dazzler?
Could be.
I didn't see those rumors.
The problem is, if they were to do that, I think they'd want to advertise it because they'd want to get the Swifties to go to the movie.
Maybe it's too early to tell.
Perhaps.
Organized Business Services said, Mary drinking out of her big baby sippy cup, LOL. Proudly, and I will continue to. Shane H. Wilder said Nikki Haley was on SNL. Did she bomb? Ching.
Let's do one more.
Boosted Yogi said, what would be perfect if Shane Stone Cold Steve Austin a couple of Bud Lights on stage?
Yes.
What does that mean?
You smash the beers together, and then you just pour.
Shower.
He never even drinks them. That's the greatest thing. If you watch old clips, they would have these videos of like how little beer did Stone Cold Steve Austin ever actually consume, because he would just smash the beers together and then pour them on himself like a weird fetish scene. It was hilarious. But basically, he'd be like it would like go into his mouth and just like spill back out because he's literally live on television.
Sober king.
He's got to be sober while on the show. One of my favorite clips of all time, I kid you not, there's this lost Stone Cold Steve Austin documentary. It was called like Hell Yeah, the Stone Cold Steve Austin Journey or something. And it never ended up on, you could only get on VHS back in the day. And like, it was never on the WWE network as far as I know. And it was like, we spent 3 days with Stone Cold Steve Austin traveling from town to town as they're showing this documentary of his career. It was one of those interesting ones that was like semi kayfabe. So it's like partly true and partly he's playing his character. But as he's driving, because it's them following him in his truck, like they're with him in his truck, he's just drinking beers while driving. It's like, it was the 90s.
Whoa. I got pulled over yesterday.
Ooh, for what?
Speeding. On the way to church.
Did you tell them that?
Yes.
What did they say?
I didn't get any sympathy.
Did you get a ticket?
Yes.
How much?
I don't even know yet.
Wait, how far over the speed limit were you?
18.
5 over, 5 under. Stick to 5 over, 5 under.
The left lane is for crime.
The left lane is for crime.
That's
what you should have said. You should have said, officer, I was reliably informed by a famous musician that the left lane is for crime.
A famous failed musician.
I said, a famous successful musician, that the left lane is in fact for crime, and then see what he says.
Yeah, I don't think that would be great to help my case, to be honest.
Let's do one more.
60 Watt said, making funny jokes is a political statement. Do you agree with that?
No, it shouldn't be. Somebody says maybe there were 0 alcohol beers. No, it was the 90s. There was not a 0 alcohol beer. He was been made fun of for drinking 0 alcohol beer.
Yeah.
They made fun of Zima on WWE, and that at least had some alcohol in it. All right, let's hold off on the rest. Mary, you're going to have to tell everyone about Dignify.
Well, you guys know I'm skeptical of AI and its capabilities. We've seen this huge controversy about Taylor Swift AI-generated spicy images, and I don't like that, but there's a new AI program that does the opposite. It's called Dignify, and it puts AI-generated clothing onto scantily clad women on the internet. And I have to say, I fully support this initiative. I think that they're doing the Lord's work. This is a movement for modesty on the internet, and it pisses off the OF models more than anything. They're blocking the accounts that send them these photos. It is so funny to watch. And it's like getting a lot of attention now because apparently this is something that was created on 4chan. Like, I don't even know. I guess it's 4chan launching a war against OnlyFans Thots.
Yes.
And they're winning. So I saw the Daily Caller covered this, and they said some internet dork is trying to reclothe beautiful women because of dignity. It's pathetic. I disagree, Daily Caller. I disagree entirely. They're giving these beautiful women the dignity that they deserve because they're putting themselves out there on the internet almost naked, and they look so much more beautiful when you're paying attention to their faces, not their bodies. So Jack Posobiec tweeted about this. He said 4chan has launched a new AI tool. Its purpose is to put clothes back on e-girls and remove tattoos. It's called Dignify. I saw some of these examples, and it does, in fact, remove tattoos. However, it's not exactly doing what it claims to be for. In this one instance, this girl has tattoos, and they removed the tattoos, but then it gave her like a lower cut shirt with more cleavage. So they're gonna have to work on the AI capabilities here. But for the most part, the outfits aren't even half bad. What do you think?
We can look at a couple of these here.
Yeah, just nothing X-rated in the before pic.
These should be fine. Go to full screen here. There you go. So
amazing.
There you go.
You know, it's still pretty tight. Like, we have some work to do, but
nope,
it's better than the first image.
Both of them are perfectly fine, ladies. Both of them are perfectly fine. You're good. You're good.
Good to know that Brett approves.
I approve of
the
both.
Before picture.
I approve of both. I approve of both.
See, she just looks better. She looks better. Dignify activated. This is the one I was talking about. Like, you gave her bigger boobs and more cleavage. I don't know if that's really accomplishing the modesty from the modesty perspective, but it did take off the tattoos. It kind of changed her face structure a little bit, but they can't really control that. Well, I can't see it because it's so small, but there are more on the website. It's dignify.net. It's dignifai.net if you want to look it up for yourself. We're putting clothes on degenerate women for fun. Come join. Get in, loser. We're reclothing OnlyFans Thots. And I went and looked at the account for Dignify, and it says in the bio, we're starting a movement. You can defeat a man, but you can't defeat an idea.
There's Miley right there.
Yes, they reclothed Miley Cyrus. And by the way, it's not just women that they're doing this to.
Yes, we've got
Elon Musk also got reclothed.
Also, I'm not a huge...
Post Malone.
Leave Posty alone.
They gave him a nice haircut.
Leave Post Malone alone.
He does look better with a beard, I gotta say.
He does. You should leave... we do have the Elon one. The Elon one is hilarious.
The infamous photo of him on the yacht. They put a suit on him, but he's still soaking wet.
It's a wetsuit.
Yes. Yes.
We got a $20 one here from Bucky Ducky. Says, I agree with Brett. Those are both perfectly fine, but the AI one is more fine.
See, we can agree on that. That's the middle ground. They also did this to Amaranth as well, taking her from wearing a slutty devil costume to just a nice conservative red dress. She looks like you could meet her at CPAC.
The dress would honestly be tighter if she was at CPAC.
Yeah, true. But I fully support this, you know? And it's funny because I think that this pisses off women more than AI pornography.
Why do you think that is?
I think that what really bothers them is men are trying to control what we wear and how we present ourselves, and that means it's misogynistic. That's their point. Someone said, the funniest part about this, it's actually not something you can really be mad at, but for this reason, I assume women will hate this more than AI porn. And someone said, I told you, using AI to put clothes on them pisses them off 1,000 times more than vice versa. All the Me Too shit was humble bragging about how hot they are, and AI declothing is the same. They want to be sex objects, at least for the OnlyFans Thots, I would agree on this. And AI does that is a kind of flattery, whereas AI that does the opposite is slut-shaming and makes them seethe like nothing else. AI tattoo removal is the worst of all because it shows how much better they looked before ruining themselves.
Wouldn't the idea be that, I guess if you were to give them if they were to give a charitable definition of what was being done to them and say, these men wish you would value your own modesty as much as they hoped you would, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows if their intentions are actually that noble, but...
No, they're not.
The result is the same.
And it shines a light on something that maybe they're not entirely comfortable with it. Look, I say leave the thoughts alone. As long as they're not teaching at your local school district, leave them alone.
We got a $20 from Pat the Plumber, said that MFer is not real. Those clothes are not real.
Dude, imagine like the problem this is going to cause. Like if you're some lady who's got a picture up here and they edit it and then like you look back like a month later and you're like, was that me? Like
you're not even gonna know anymore because it's so convincing.
Yeah, you're like, I don't remember it. Like, did I take a picture like that?
Thank you guys. Now, some people are claiming that Dignify is not wholesome as it claims to be. And this is still a form of fetishism. Someone tweeted, every one of these AI purifying things I've seen is not pure at all. It's just more trad fetishing. Take this one. Not only did they unnecessarily perfect her teeth and smile, they made her top more low cut, breasts significantly larger, and added cleavage. This isn't wholesome. On that one particular example, I agree that it didn't do what it was aiming to do. Yeah. But for the rest of them, you really can't argue that. And it screenshots a post on 4chan that says, with the power of AI, we will clothe the Insta Thots. We will purify them of their tattoos. We will liberate them of their piercings. We will lengthen their skirts. We will piggyback off the outrage around AI porn and commit unrelenting psychological warfare to our own ends. We will show them the lives they will never have. We will force them to gaze upon the image of true beauty, reclaimed from their own corrupted visage. We will bring decency back to the world, one seething roasty at a time.
There's almost a medieval tone to this that I'm quite enjoying.
They're being a little bit dramatic, but for most of these women, nothing is all that different aside from their outfit. So it actually is attainable for them to achieve this image. Just put on clothes. I hate when OnlyFans women call themselves models because they're not modeling anything. You're not modeling anything if you're naked.
Should they just be called performers then?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're digital prostitutes. It's not that complicated. But some people are claiming that this is still a form of porn because men are the ones creating it.
Do you think that there's a fetishistic nature to this?
If there's something fetishistic about it, I would think they'd be in niqabs or hijabs, right? That's the thing. I think that, like, in Sharia countries where women aren't even allowed to show their faces, obviously that's dehumanizing, and that's not a measure of modesty. Because if it were, nuns would do it.
There is a certain level of attention given to the idea of trad now that could lead to that, though. I don't disagree with that.
If the woman herself is intentionally fetishizing tradness, sure.
I mean, yeah, but that means that there will be men who could have created a program like this. Like 5 years ago, I don't think that something, like even if the technology was there, I don't think something like this exists.
I mean, some of them, sure. But I don't think that overall the aim is to fetishize them wearing more modest clothing. I think it's just to point out, like, hey, here's this alternative of what you would look like if you weren't sexually objectifying yourself.
I don't think I wouldn't give them I wouldn't give somebody who's making this about a person they've never met that charitable of an intention.
Maybe, but I guess the outcome remains the same anyway.
Yeah.
And I do like to see the outrage. And I don't think that, I mean, look, it's not porn.
Yeah.
If there isn't nudity or sexuality involved, it's not porn. I'm sorry. Like, you can disagree with it. You can think it's bad. You can think it's disrespectful to edit these photos, but it's not pornography. But here's another take. Women who dress modestly are getting unclothed with AI, while those who dress immodestly are getting clothed with AI. This paradox reflects the control men seek over women's attire, regardless of modesty.
Well, that could be where they consider what they consider the fetish. It's a control fetish. It's the idea of the ability to control a person who otherwise is making all of their money by doing it on their own, right? Because that's what women talk about now, is they talk about being able to go into business for themselves. They're not being run by a company or a person. They're into business for themselves. So it is a form of control.
So you would say that the name of the AI program is deceptive because it's not about dignity?
Look, I don't know the person who created this program. I can't speak to his intentions. I would say that most ideas in the world are a hell of a lot deeper than something so surface level.
I'm sure that there are...
On a quest for modesty in the world,
yes.
Sure, maybe that's what it is. But I distrust everyone, not just people who I happen to disagree with.
I'm sure there are a lot of dudes who are like doing the Dignify thing and they still watch porn, or maybe they still even subscribe to OnlyFans Thots. And they're total hypocrites for that. But the ones who aren't, I think some of them do have good intentions.
How much time...
And regardless, I think the results is pretty good.
Would one have to spend on the internet looking at OnlyFans Thots to even come up with the idea to create a program like this?
Valid point.
Yeah.
Totally fair point. I agree. But it's still funny to watch.
Yes, it is.
From outside. And also, I wanted to point out, when I went to the Dignify website, there was a song playing, which is... It's a cover of Bulletproof by LaRue that is called prostitutes.
I do love that song.
And it actually was kind of good and hilarious.
I don't know if there's...
I wanted to play it for you guys.
I feel like some of these images... like this one could almost be misconstrued as nudity, but it's not. She's wearing a nude top.
Well, as long as nothing X-rated is
Well, let's listen to the song.
screen. Let's take a listen.
Been there, done that, chopped around. I'm back
We're getting
insane. I'm
copyright.
shagged us out. I can't say one's deserving of a ring. Can't live with them, can't without. They're acting up and acting out while acting like they're worthy of a king. Once or twice I've strolled the block. I've let some chickens choke my cock. I've never met a bird I can't make sing. So tell me why I tell you what. I've courted queens and slept with sluts. I've never held one hand fit for a ring. Because they've all become prostitutes.
I do love the original. The LaRue version of this song is actually one of my favorites.
I encourage all of you to go listen to that song in full.
Also listen to Colorless Color by LaRue.
It was amazing.
Yes, it was.
So overall, outrage good. Maybe the intentions were bad.
I think some of the OnlyFans women should have embraced it and just posted both. And
Oh
been
yeah,
like,
but they
what do you-
started blocking.
Like, all I'm saying is like
Once this
just,
was sent to them.
Just all you have to do is just like embrace. Now you just expand your business model. Looking for some self-hating men who actually want to see you in clothes, pay money for it. I'm sure there's at least a couple of dudes out there who would surreptitiously look around and do so. They could have embraced this and made some more money off of it.
I think that they should have a better sense of humor about it because a lot of them are just getting outraged for no reason.
Yeah, and like I'm sure a lot of them are pretty like trigger happy about the idea of being controlled, because I think a lot of the idea behind doing the platform they're doing themselves is that they get to control what they put out there. So the idea that someone's trying to control on the, you know.
But it's the internet.
Yep.
You can't.
Once you put it on the internet, you lose control.
What
of
it
it
is.
It's a sad fact of the matter. All right, let's go to Super Chats.
T-Dog said, black rapper pushes security guard, gets arrested. Illegals beat the S out of cops, they go free. Are the leaders trying to destroy this country?
Yes.
Well, I didn't see the video. I mean, I don't know what really happened, but Disco Jensen.
Let's get a third crisis party, guys. Before 2 o'clock, before 5 o'clock.
Disco Jensen said, college students are future workers and leaders, can't do basic math, we're doomed. LOL.
I can't do basic math either, though, so that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, when diversity hiring goes into effect in Hollywood, you just get bad shows and movies, which is bad enough.
Yeah.
When diversity hiring happens in airline industries, that results in death and destruction. So we should be more worried about what's going on at United right now, I think. Disco Jensen, or no, Bucky Ducky said, Mary driving 18 over, girl, you drive like a Texan. Well, it was like...
I believe that's a compliment.
It was like literally 100 feet before the sign that was 45. I was going 43 in a 25. And the sign, I literally could see the sign in front of me that said 45.
Yeah.
So
you were.
I think it was unfair.
You were making your way there.
Yeah.
There was like a very famous stretch of road in Minnesota off 35E where like it would go from 45 to 60, and they would just anytime some cop missed his quota, they were just down there ready to pick you off.
Yes.
Yep. Every time.
Disco Jensen said, Dignify removes tattoos in addition to de-thoughting. Yes, many capabilities. Shane H. Wilder said, the left lane is for crime. This is why I'm never late for mass. Speed limit of 75 miles per hour. Meh, that's just a suggestion.
Question. When you do confession, do you have to apologize for breaking the speed limit? Do you have to confess?
I didn't really think about it. I confessed to something else, which I'll tell you about after the show.
All right, then.
Related to getting pulled over.
All right.
But I can't say that on the show. Disco Jensen said, dignify covering up fatherlessness.
That would have been that'd be a great business, like
put their dad in the photo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Somebody should do that where they just put a father into a bunch of pictures with
single mothers. Oh, no. Bucky Ducky said, my fetish is putting clothes on. Who? Where?
Where are these people?
Well, I mean, I guess your argument, Brett, was that it's more so about just controlling.
Yeah.
And doing whatever is against their will.
And let's face it, the more the women get annoyed by it, the more it will make them want to do it more. If the whole idea here, if the fetish, and again, I have no idea, but if in their brains, the fetish is like, I want to control how these women are seen, them being mad about it will just make them want to do it more and continue the problem.
What actually would disincentivize them from being digital prostitutes then? Like, what would work in our favor?
That's a very good. That's such a layered question. Like maybe.
What would actually make them rethink what they're doing?
Not seeing rent be $1,600 a month and your college degree be worthless, and I'm not saying that that's
better economy.
Better economy. Like they literally will talk about how it's like it's the easy way. It's the easy way out. Of course, a lot of them learn very quickly that doesn't work.
It's the easy way out that destroys your life in the process.
And they talk all the time about how it doesn't work. Like, look, the most successful people on that platform had a platform to begin with on other streams. Like whether it's Twitch, whether they came from porn, whether they came from some other industry, right? They've already built a profile that, like I said, Mandy Rose, the WWE star, she doesn't even use OnlyFans. She used something called Fansly.
Yeah,
right?
some knockoff.
And they would talk
platform.
about how they're like, she didn't even have to go to the one everybody's heard of. Right? And she made like $400,000 the first month. Like, that's like your salary at a company like WWE. And they fired her. What incentive is there for her to try and go work for another wrestling promotion when she's making all that money there?
I don't know. I think that for a lot of them, it's not even about the money. It's for the attention. Like, I was just watching whatever panel with Michael Knowles, and one of them said, I was working a 6-figure job in tech company before I did OnlyFans, so it wasn't even because she needed money.
That's the exception, not the rule, though.
And then a lot of those girls were just saying, like, straight up, they're pretty much millionaires at this point at a very early age. So there's no need to continue doing it unless there's some other factor at play, which is a desperate need, like a pathological need for attention and like coping with things in their upbringing and things like that.
You can't tell me that you don't get addicted to the clout that's gained.
Feeling like there's no going back too, because you're at the point of no return. I don't know. A lot to unpack there. Lover of Green said at panel, why the F are people still wearing face diapers? It's 2024 and 5% of America still buys into the Fauci nonsense. Like, guys, the coof ended in 2022. Are they just that delusional or what?
What I suggest in these situations, it's about it's about where is your energy best spent? If you're out in public and you see some people wearing masks, is it going to help your life to like sit there and now that so few people are doing it, and yes, you'll see a couple out. Like I say, every time I go out to eat, I'll see maybe one worker wearing a mask, 1 or 2 workers wearing a mask, maybe one customer wearing a mask, usually older people, right? Like what benefit is there for me to get worked up about the indoctrination they have suffered to still be wearing that? It just isn't worth your time or mine for the most part. I did, however, see something funny the other day where they were showing that when they were, Disparu pointed out that when they were making Echo, they had to wear see-through masks because she reads lips. The actress reads lips. So it basically didn't work. Well, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyways because they're pointing out, like, look, this is already well past when people were wearing masks. Yeah. But they were wearing clear masks because the actress could read their lips because not everybody can sign. What, are they made of plastic? Yeah, I guess. Now you can, like, actually barely breathe in that. 60 Watts said, I don't see feet pics as porn, but they still sell. They still smell. I mean, if anything, you see that. If anything, you see that the feet ones are the ones that most women are very, very reticent to put out there. I did watch a really funny YouTube short where everybody was making fun of this guy because he's like one of those dudes who makes they do van life and they show like, oh, this is my van. This is what I do in a day. This is where everything is. And he like blurred out his own feet and everybody was like making fun of him. Like, you're a dude who blurred out his feet. What a freaking loser. Well, it has to do with the intent of the person making the imagery as well. So I think in that case, it would still qualify as porn. Daniel G said, hoping for Dignified 2.0 so I can learn plumbing and cable installation. Perfect. Wait, what? Maybe what they can do is, I like the idea of the fathers, of like putting fathers into photos. Who are they? There's what, just a random AI-generated stock photo? Just a random dad.
Okay.
I like it.
Shane H. Wilder said, it's been a while since I've made a PCC short, so tomorrow morning you will get Mary and Brett visit a Cosmics Cafe.
Oh, has anybody actually been to one yet?
The Cosmics Cafe. I forgot about that.
Has anyone actually been to one yet?
All of the food looked, and the drinks looked just disgusting.
They
just
looked like
vile.
diabetes.
They looked, they weren't even appetizing. Like, what is the point? Yurishima Otaru said, OF girls won't regret until they hit rock bottom.
Look, it's kind of like what Mostly Peaceful Latina says. Like, I think there is like a misconception that like they think that all of these women just end up alone with cats.
Oh,
But
no.
That's not what's going to happen. There will be some dude who will marry these women, and it may piss you off, but they're probably going to lead pretty normal lives afterwards.
I wouldn't say normal, but
something on the outside normal.
Yeah.
Like, and
sure.
I think that bothers people because they're like, look, they judge what they've done, and they believe that because you've done something that they don't like, that you should be punished. And when they're not punished to the standard which they believe they should have been, it annoys people.
Right, but it's just the truth of the world that people who do bad often get rewarded for it and never see karma come back to them for what they've done. And often the best people, the most virtuous people will suffer through their lives for no reason, or not for no reason, but because, and they don't deserve that.
The injustice of that is what bothers people.
That's what bothers people. And they want to believe like, yeah, you're going to be only accompanied by cats and boxed wine and Sex in the City.
That's not what's going to happen.
But for a lot of them, it's true. That's not what happens. And they somehow, find some weird guy who seems to be okay with their past.
Exactly. Like, you can't tell me that there are not millions of men who are completely okay with what you did as a career, with what you did as a career.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell me that suddenly there isn't going to be at least one dude who will put up with it as a husband? No, they will find one.
Now, maybe not when they are less attractive, which is usually the time frame when they say they're going to start looking for a spouse.
Yeah.
They say when I'm 35, I'm going to start looking for someone to settle down with, and that's a horrible idea for anyone, but especially someone with such a different past.
Jimmy Rush in the chat says there's not a misconception that they won't find a guy. I disagree. I think plenty of them use the excuse they're going to end up 45 and alone with cats. That's what they say. He says it's that they won't end up with the guy they want.
That's true.
I disagree with the first part. The second part, perhaps. But I disagree. I see plenty of sentiment online that say, cats in boxed wine incoming.
Yeah.
And that's not the fact of the
matter. Well, these girls clearly live for male validation. So I guess people think that using that paradigm to talk to them about like what would be the optimal way for them to live their lives would be best. Like, if you do this instead, guys will like you more. But it's like, let's change the paradigm so that your entire worldview doesn't revolve around getting male validation.
16-bit mascot says no guy would ever respect them, marriage or not. Actually, I would say that maybe the bigger thing is that they will end up with a guy they don't respect.
True. That's a good point. Yeah. Also, isn't it said, like, men want respect, women want love? I don't know if they really need a guy to respect them or their past that much.
Yeah.
Yurishima Otaru said celeb deepfakes are no worse than the imagination. I mean, if you mean what I think you mean, I disagree, because if you're posting these images of people, you're in a way spreading it to other people to consume as a product, and you're also forcing them to be aware of it as well. Like, if something were just inside your imagination, it should stay there because it's something that you should be ashamed of. Corey Anderson said, Mary, you look nice today. Something special after the show? No, nothing in particular.
Did an interview earlier, but it was like a phone interview.
It wasn't over.
She dressed up. She was dressed for success.
I'm just, dressing for the job I want.
That's
which is a podcaster with 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh, that was a good one. Speaking of which, guys, you should hit the like button on this video, and if you have not already, you should subscribe to this channel, because we are on our way to 100,000 subscribers. I want to get there by the end of the week. This week, it would be fantastic. So go ahead and subscribe if you have not already. And to all of you that have, thank you so much for being a part of this journey with us. It's fantastic. So Mary, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
Perfect. All right, guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. PCC is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you prefer to listen rather than watch. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook and not TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We got a couple of more super chats here. Perhaps we can get to third crisis party before we go.
Yes, or we can just sit here and wait. Bucky Ducky said 99K subs. You're close to that 100K, Mary. I believe in you.
He doesn't believe in me. He believes in you.
Manic Mustache said women in the adult entertainment will most likely go off and marry a drug dealer, crap out a couple dozen kids, and perpetuate the cycle fatherless.
It would be.
I highly doubt a couple dozen.
It would be interesting to look at to get like a list of somebody to like figure out where did all of these people end up and how many of them ended up actually being married in relationships. There was the one who ended up with like a pastor.
Really?
Yeah, she gave it up and joined and became religious and married a pastor.
Wait, I think I saw her get interviewed by someone about that. But yeah,
that guy clearly forgave her past.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the person. I wouldn't say that anyone has to accept a past like that, though. Disco Jensen said Mia Khalifa was married twice and lost engagement. Oh, yeah, literally and figuratively. Like, she was engaged 3 times, married twice.
Yeah.
All of them fell apart. And she did actually admit that for at least one of them, the reason behind their divorce was because this guy realized that he wasn't comfortable with her past anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's because it's not really your past if it's still on the internet. Yep. It's still presently being
Maybe it would have been
internet.
easier back in the day for the ones where before the internet age.
Or if you were just promiscuous.
Yeah.
That's not something you can look up and see. Mm-hmm. Shane H. Wilder said, subscribe, quit being a bee, and come on.
Seriously, come over to the channel.
Be a man.
Subscribe to PCC. Warm here. It's a lot of fun. And we're going to get to that 100,000. There's kind of that fear that at 100,000 we're like, now what? Now it's like, now we get, I guess what the next is 500K, even though there's no button for that. 500K is a big one.
I don't know. We'll see what happens, like if we're going to do a special episode for the other milestones, but this is the big one. Bucky Ducky said, I believe in you more, Brett. I was just typing after Mary said she wanted to be a podcast host with 100K subs. But Mary, you got to stop at 100K. No more.
Yeah, she just quits the next day.
That's it. I've peaked.
Show just creators because nobody actually wants to watch me. They just want to watch Mary, so everybody leaves. I buy it, guys. All right. If that's everything, guys, I was going to say just go till 2. I'd love to get a third crisis party, but it looks like that's not going to happen today. But we will be back with another episode tomorrow. You should tune in. It's going to be a fun week this week as we work our way to 100,000. We'll see you tomorrow.
There's one more, though.
Oh,
Bucky Ducky said 100K. Now what? 101K. Duh.
Well, like I said, I don't do math good. That's the problem.
Yeah, math class is tough.
All right, guys. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye, guys.